Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree reviews are in, and so are community impressions. So we'll talk about that, plus the continuing slow death of physical media, or maybe not, all today on TouchPad. Hello and welcome to Cross Circle Squared. I am Benny Gerkman, and this is TouchPad, your daily video game news show, or should I say, mostly daily. Sorry about last week. I had a dentist appointment. It destroyed my mouth horrendously. I was in terrible pain, so I missed most of the week last week. But we're finally back, and so today we're going to run through everything that happened this past weekend. And that, of course, it has to start with Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree. Technically, it released Thursday for most people, but Friday is the official date. And, oh man, many opinions have come in on this game, or DLC rather. And I think the most prevailing one I've seen is just, man, it is long. It is an expansive DLC. In an interview with Eurogamer a few months prior to release, FromSoft head Hidetaka Miyazaki said that it was, quote, bigger than Limgrave, which is a quote that led many people to believe it's comparable at all to the size of Limgrave, when it's really not. Bigger was an understatement, both in landmass and content length. It's way longer than any DLC FromSoft has put out before. According to How Long to Beat, no one has submitted any runtimes for 100% completion run yet, but so far, most people that have finished it have clocked in nearly 30 hours for just the main story plus a little bit of side stuff. If we go by the times clocked for the base game, that's 100 for the main story with some side stuff, and then 133 for completion. Take that 33% longer ratio for the base game, apply it to the DLC. That means you could see 40 hours of content in the completionist run for Shadow of the Erdtree. That's like normal game amount, right? That's longer than God of War Ragnarok. So really, I think this is a sort of unexpected, or I don't know if I should say unexpected, because Miyazaki, he's a little troll, and so if he's out here saying, oh, you know what, Limgrave, just imagine Limgrave, and then it's 20 times that, I don't know, maybe we should kind of expected that at this point. The other big takeaway that I've seen people take away is that it's very, very hard. This expansion seems to have been one of the hardest things FromSoft has put out, and earlier on, many people saying it is by far the hardest. Many people all over the internet lamenting just how difficult it is to beat any of these bosses. Many streamers not finishing the DLC because it's so hard. Even Eurogamer's Alexis Ong gave it a 3 out of 5, in part because it was just so hard. And a lot of reviewers mentioned that as well. Saying, it's great. This game reviewed well. We'll talk about that in a sec. But pretty much every review you read is man, it almost feels like it's getting to the point of difficulty for difficulty's sake. And of course, as time has gone on, people have figured out ways to lower the difficulty of the game. Your character's level in the base game, no matter how high it is, level 200, 500, 720 or whatever Gene Park from Washington Post is, none of that really gives you an advantage in the DLC, since it uses a new system of tree fragments to upgrade attack and defense numbers. So it's not relying on your HP level really that much, or your, how upgraded your weapon is or whatever. So, maybe not the hardest DLC or content that FromSoft has ever created, but it still seems to be pretty high on the difficulty side and definitely much harder than the base game. Earlier, of course, I mentioned that Eurogamer 3 out of 5. That was kind of an outlier. Most outlets were much more glowing about it. We're talking about a 94 here on OpenCritic, 93, sorry. And that is higher than any expansion ever. So I think the next highest would have been The Witcher 3's Blood and Wine expansion. That was a 92. So, definitely successful on the critics side as well. Most of everything in the DLC being rated just extremely highly. It's beautiful, difficult again, but it's rewarding to explore and to just delve in. The only issues I've been seeing, other than the difficulty, is PC optimization. It seems to be extremely hit or miss, but that's pretty much par for the course with FromSoft. They kind of just cram their game in and then they launch it, and then if your PC can't handle it, or really if you even have a PC at all, it's just not optimized right, so you know, whatever, sucks. You're going to be going between 60 and 27 in a boss fight. But other than that, there's also a sort of different narrative design ethos taken here, seemingly much more direct in the storytelling department compared to the base game, which has led to some points being taken away from some of these outlets as well. FromSoft, of course, being known for the obtuse, esoteric kind of storytelling that they tend to have, whereas Shadow of the Erdtree seems more, I don't want to say direct, because, you know, it's not like, you know, it's not character-driven Sony Ghost Ride games or whatever, but it's definitely more, I don't know, maybe less debatable would be a good way to put it. Again, the DLC is at mixed 67 on Steam, I think mainly because of both difficulty. Of course, some people are angry about that, but like, man, PC optimization is tough. And some people also mentioning like, yeah, you know, this feels more direct in what the story they're trying to tell is. And I think to some people that's not going to be a bad thing. But if you're a hardcore Souls lore expert, you know, it might be 50-50. You might enjoy it because it's telling you all of this new stuff, or you might be a little disappointed because you don't have to really fight for it as much. I think overall, if you're expecting the difficulty and you're on console and, you know, you're not for or against the FromSoft vagueness, I think you'll have a good time. I don't think that's by any means a small portion of the fan base. I think that's most people that fall in there. So again, I think it's worth the asking price of only $40 as well. You're getting like a 40-hour game. That's pretty good. I do recommend reading that Eurogamer article or review. It's very tough on the game, but it's incredibly well written. And with just how glowingly positive everyone else is on the DLC, I think it's worth to read alongside whatever your top critics think, just to kind of get both sides of the coin. Again, I think overall, huge success. It had some bumps in the road, but man, this is FromSoft. You know, they know how to craft experiences. And it's sort of reinvigorated a love for Elden Ring across social media too, which is nice to see. It got me to start Elden Ring. I've just basically reached the point where I can start the DLC, so I might have some impressions of it out at some point this week. But yeah, Shadow of the Erdtree out on PS5, Series X and S, and PC. Again, $40 for the entry fee is very, very good. I would say for what you're getting out. If you're one of those people that's like, I need dollar to hour comparisons here, you're looking at $1 an hour. That's pretty cheap. Okay, for our next story today, UK retailer Game was supposedly at some point supposed to stop selling all physical copies of games, or at least that was the story last week when Gfinity Esports dropped a report saying the British retailer just, you know, they're going to stop stocking any physical copies of games other than pre-orders. And that was kind of a move that, while sad to see, was unsurprising. Most people, I think, these days either pre-order physical games, like that's the thing I do, and, you know, you can pre-order games much, much easier online and not have to go to a store and come home with nothing. And the other majority of people just buy digital. So you're really selling to a portion of the audience there. You know, maybe kids or random people coming in to browse. And in most situations, those are also the same people that buy gift cards or, you know, one of those digital cards we've seen that Nintendo sells with a code for the game. They could just buy those. So why stock physical copies? And over the years, we've seen GameStop and Game, for that matter, move slowly away from physical copies and more into merchandise and toys. So when this report originally came out, it was sad, but again, we could see it coming. Though, according to a new article by Eurogamer, this is no longer the case, or it maybe never was the case. A game representative reached out to them to say that, quote, this reporting is categorically not true. Game continues to support the physical gaming market, offering a wide range of physical games, hardware, software, accessories, and digital gift cards in stores and online. So I guess, a false alarm here, but it does speak to the overall trend and loss of physical media that we're seeing across the board, from digital consoles to stores shrinking their gaming sections, even if they're not getting rid of it. But then you do have stores like Best Buy completely getting rid of their physical movies, at least. I imagine games are going to follow suit at some point with them. Even I know on Digital Foundry, on their DF Direct podcast, they've talked a lot about how Xbox specifically has dialed down on the physical front. Like all of the little Xbox displays in stores and retailers has started to shrink over time, with less and less games being available physically over there. And then, you know, on the American side, I definitely see it. Nintendo especially has been focusing more and more on their gift card software code ecosystem that I just mentioned, where, you know, you go to a wall and it's just all gift cards instead of big boxes with big old heavy cartridges in it. PlayStation is really the only real bastion of physical media here in a sense, but I mean, even they have released a digital version of their console, so we're seeing more and more games just launch completely digitally anyway, or you could think to Alan Wake 2 with limited run physical editions, or sometimes physical editions coming later, like with Baldur's Gate 3. It's just, it's not looking good. And it seems more and more like games will be going the same way that movies have, and unfortunately music has as well. Though I think, again, it's important to remember that movies have kept physical media as an option. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. You know, for many movies, the best way to watch them are the 4K Blu-ray editions, not online streaming with, you know, a lot of, what's it called? Oh, I can't remember what it's called. You know, they look bad. I'm blanking on the word. But yeah, you know, they're streaming quality. They're not the true original format. Where you, with 4K Blu-ray, you know, you're going to get every single pixel. And even especially with vinyl records, music artists still release vinyl records to this day, even though it's like 3 mediums behind at this point. They still release CDs and cassettes in limited releases. So for games, I think, yes, it's going to get smaller. It's going to get worse if you're a physical head like me. But I don't think it's ever going to go away fully. Games are special in that they're like hundreds of gigs huge, too. There are still people with internet that is just unprepared to download like Call of Duty sized games over and over again. So if we see games getting bigger still, and we don't see internet improve in many regions around the world where it's still not up to, you know, what I have, or especially people in big cities have, I think there's a good chance it'll stick around at least for another few generations. Plus, there's that sickle old ownership thing where if you own the physical copy, you actually sort of own the game in a sense, more than you would online, but or you know, like buying it digitally from PlayStation. But Nintendo has shown us in court a couple times that it really kind of doesn't matter whether you own it physically or digitally. You're still buying a license to access the game or whatever. So I don't know. It can seem kind of doom and gloom in that area, but I don't know. I'm always an optimist, so that's the take I have on it. Okay, let's go ahead and get to some smaller news stories now. First off, we're going to go to Palworld. I'm sorry, I hate Palworld. I'm a Palworld hater, but you know, there are a lot of people out there that enjoy this game. And according to a Twitter post by Palworld's community manager, more people will now have the chance to enjoy Palworld as it's coming to PlayStation. They have this little hearts next to Palworld with black for Steam, I'm guessing. Xbox is green, of course. Mac is white. And now they have added a blue heart. So it might be coming to PlayStation. I was actually surprised that Palworld was not released on PlayStation previously. With how big this game is, I feel like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's a console. I guess it's not a console exclusive, but I don't know. This felt like one of those available everywhere games. And no Switch as well, too, yet. Come on, I think this game can run on Switch. But yeah, weirdly, not on PlayStation yet, but it will be soon. I'm guessing this is going to be in conjunction with their new update that's coming soon, that releases to Xbox Series X and S, as well as PC on June 27th. Okay, let's talk next about Beyond Good and Evil. And we finally have a big new update on Beyond Good and Evil. Finally, after years of silence from Ubisoft on the franchise. They've announced that we're getting an anniversary edition of Good and Evil 1. It's dropping tomorrow, June 25th, so you won't have to wait long to play the newest release in the Beyond Good and Evil franchise. It's, of course, dropping to the PlayStation, Xbox Series X and S, Switch, as well as PC. It'll have a physical release by LRG, and apparently will include a new mission tying to the real Beyond Good and Evil 2, whenever that definitely, certainly, 100% comes out. We'll see. Okay, no releases for today, but tomorrow is packed. You have the aforementioned Beyond Good and Evil remaster, or Anniversary Edition, they're calling it, plus console ports of Graven and the Riven remake, and then Luigi's Mansion 2 HD releases on Thursday, so kind of a big week for releases of old games. But we'll talk about those when we get there. As for me, I have another dentist appointment tomorrow, so that could knock me out for another half week again, but we'll see. I always post through the YouTube community posts feature if I'm going to be out for a few days. So if you're viciously requiring gaming news, you can check there and see if something horribly sad and morbid has happened to me or not. But either way, that's all I've got for you today. As always, I am Benny Gerkman. This is Cross Circle Squared, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.